I'm Kevin Rinke, and I'd like to welcome you to Beyond the Echo. I ran for governor in Michigan. After losing that election, my desire to look at issues that are important to the state or the country grew. There is so much static. There are so many opinions. Our news stations have gotten to the point where we don't know what news is anymore. Where do you go to get real facts? This is about real perspective for you. Beyond the Echo will cut through all the smoke, all the opinions. It's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's about the issues and what are real. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Beyond the Echo. And today, two of my favorite people, Garrett Soldano. Well, you're the second of my two favorite people.
I was going to say, like your younger, ugly brother.
It could be my son, Garrett Soldano.
I'm not calling you dad.
Or crazy uncle, maybe.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
And Republican senatorial candidate Mike Rogers. Mike, it's really good to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Mike, thank you for having me. It's
Garrett,
great to be
it's kind of good to have you here.
Always.
But, you know,
I'll see.
it's that linebacker attitude between the two
the
of us,
haircut?
yin and
I mean, I'm
yang,
good.
that goes on. So we're going to talk about, folks, Mike Rogers and all the good things about Mike Rogers that I know to be true. And we're going to talk about the perceptions of Mike Rogers with some of the wackos, and I call them wackos, I'm sorry, that want to hang their hat on a specific issue or a specific incident. And it's not because they're bad people. It's because they don't understand the requirements of decision making. It's really easy to be a sea lawyer. So let's start by, if you're okay, talking about the good stuff.
I love the good stuff.
As do I. And, you know, Mike, your second campaign in a row.
Yeah.
And me having chosen not to do two campaigns back to back, personally, knows the drive, the determination, the heart that you are putting into this. And I want to thank you. And every person in Michigan should say thank you, because you are giving up family, you are giving up friends, and it isn't for the job.
Yeah.
It's for a belief, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Talk
Don't need
about
the
it.
job. Yeah. Matter of fact, you know, if financially is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, but I believe so passionately that the country needs leadership now more than ever. And if that same course that we were on under the Bidens and what you saw here under Whitmer in the state, the Democrat policies are really destroying the fabric of America. And so those things are still true. So President Trump needs some help in the United States Senate. That didn't change. And so we've thought long and hard about this and decided, listen, if we're going to get our kids reading again, if we're going to get jobs back here, if we're going to build things for the defense industrial base, it takes somebody to have this drive to get up every day and know that a win means a win for Michigan and a win for working families here. And so my wife and I, God bless her, she's all in, decided that this was worth that fight. It was worth this sacrifice to do this.
And I got to say, Mike, like it's frustrating on my end, because we talked almost a year ago. We interviewed and you were deciding that you're going to run again. I'm like, my answer to you was like, are you nuts?
Exactly.
Right? Because I felt in my heart.
The short answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No, there's no question.
Yeah. But like the biggest thing is I was upset because you should have already been our senator.
Yeah.
That was the frustrating part with me. And just like Kevin said, we have some people in the state of Michigan who are very loud, a very small minority, but very loud, that basically they took down the Republican ticket, and now we're stuck with Slotkin, who basically just wanted to do a coup with our military, right?
So it would appear. And first things first, Mike, how old are you?
62.
You're 62. So you'd be my younger brother, I would have to say. And there's a big difference between 62 and 65. The energy that goes into this on a scale of 1 to 10 in your life would be what?
It's got to be 10, only in the sense that it's consuming.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it. You can't. It's not like my wife and I get to go out to dinner without somebody coming up and saying something to us, which is fine if it's good, not fine if it's not good.
Right.
But it's consuming. It's a 10. There's no way around it. I still have some business things. I was getting going again when we decided to run again, so we're still doing a little bit of that. but far and bar and away, this is about getting out, talking to people every day. I'm either on the phone, in the car, getting somewhere, having conversations. It's a 10. There's no way around it.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize it's not like a normal job when you are campaigning, and it's not a normal job when you have the passion that you have. And that's one of the things that I cannot emphasize enough in regards to you that I admire. Because I don't agree with every issue with you, Mike.
So
But
you're only
probably-
wrong. You're only wrong a little bit. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Probably 95%. Candidly, it's a similar age. It's a similar love for America. It's a similar love for Michigan. But like any good relationship, you disagree and you learn from those disagreements. And I commend you for the energy and the effort that you're putting into this. Garrett was talking about Alyssa Slocum for a second, and yesterday I was in a business meeting talking about a U.S. military contract that I'm helping some people with in Washington. And she committed treason with the implication, I don't care if you are a Republican or a Democrat, when you attempt to break the chain of command, to defy the chain of command in the fashion that they did, the implication is treasonous. And I think that they should be held to the highest standard. I think she should be censored in the Senate by Republicans aggressively. And my hope is that the U.S. military actually charges her, as well as our astronaut who both of them, when they got pressured, backed right down. Well, there really weren't any illegal orders, but if there were, they should reject them. Yeah, those types of implications. And I realize I'm talking a lot. I want to hear from you. You've got a military background. You have been in those situations. And I think that it's really important. How do you respond to their comments regarding President Trump and the orders through Pete Hegseth?
So the way that they presented it, it wasn't, the press has taken it as only Trump. They didn't say Trump specifically. So they talked about the military, writ large. And so if you're a young officer or a young non-commissioned officer in the United States military, now they were encouraging insubordination when you listen to the way they presented their case. And so you never want to break that chain of authority and moral leadership in the United States military. And I don't care what branch it is. That's what gets people killed. It's dangerous to the men and women who serve. It's dangerous to their families. It's dangerous to our national security. And here's the part that doesn't get talked about a lot. We're in a whole new world with cyber, and the last 10 years I've been in the cyber security business. Our adversaries take that kind of language and do information operations targeting our military around the world, saying, well, guess what? Your leaders may be giving you illegal orders. Why do they do that? Because it encourages insubordination. Insubordination is the thing that gets people killed on a battlefield.
Yeah.
And so the very fact that they came out and did this, and they knew that there was no illegal orders, they were trying to create chaos. They wanted chaos within the United States military. Now, right in, I think it was 1947, it might be off by a year, we had a similar problem where our adversaries were encouraging people back then to disregard the United States military, the good order of a military unit. So they passed a law, Congress passed a law to deal with this. It's Title 18, 2387, I believe.
It is 2387.
Yeah, that you can, that anything that you do that causes insubordination is a crime.
Doesn't it fall under sedition?
Could be. Listen, I think that would be a harder case to prove, but you could, if you look at that law and you look at what they said, boy, that's an easy case to make. I'm not a lawyer, but boy, I think I could make that case. I mean, it was just now, and if you notice, some of them have backed down, some of them have doubled down on it. They said, I think the guy from Arizona said that he would, you'll get prosecuted if we win back the Senate and the House. Now that is well a bridge too far. So now you've got people wondering, should I follow orders? That is so dangerous. It is irresponsible, and it may be a crime.
A very, very famous poem has a very strong line in it. And when you are in the military, I use this line all the time with people. And I quote, "Yours is not to reason why, yours is but to do or die." Yeah. And that is the responsibility of our troops to our country, to our form of government, for our freedoms, not to give their effing opinion about an order.
Yeah. It's called order and discipline in a military unit. You start messing with that, it creates huge problems. There is a reason we're the most effective fighting force on the face of the earth. Good leadership, good non-commissioned officer leadership. That's how we win wars. That's how we win fights. That's how we do more harm to the bad guys, and our good guys get to come home. And you start messing with that, and you give the adversaries all of this language that they can use in information operations in social media. I mean, I really worry about the implications of this.
Yeah, me too. Have you ever read the book Once an Eagle?
No, I've heard it. It's on my stack.
You know what? It's an incredible book, and it stems from World War I through the start of Vietnam. And it is written about a character, a fictitious character. It's a combination of real history with fictitious people plugged into it. But it talks about leadership, the rank versus the rank and file in the military. It talks about civilian interaction and how it impacts our military. And it's a fascinating book. And it's a long one. I think it's 1,600 pages.
Yeah. It's a tome for sure.
It is a great book.
I think I have my TV on that book.
That's what... my buddy downloaded it, and it is 47 hours.
That's a long trip.
On the radio to get through the book, 47 hours. So enough on that. I was curious because...
It is on my list because I've heard a lot of military folks talk about that book.
And I know that you being elected to the Senate, probably talking about that particular issue isn't what you were here for. But as a civilian who is got many, many friends in the military and who has had some involvement with the military, I cannot emphasize enough how dangerous and how irresponsible those people were.
And that's what the Democratic Party has evolved into. They just say whatever they want. And there's no accountability. And the Republicans hold themselves to a higher standard. And it's like they're bullies, man. So if we don't start holding these folks accountable, they're just going to continue to say what they want.
Well, taking it a step further, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan was one of the primary speakers of that venom. And I think
she led the charge.
Yeah. And you lost to her. And we're going to talk about really how that kind of came down because it didn't make sense.
Well, in your race specifically, you know, over the past couple months, looking at the polls, watching the evolution of this thing, and watching you just gain ground. I mean, and like what we talked about before, and I talked to your team about this, is you being able to focus on the general and not really have to worry about the primary and everything else, where like in the gubernatorial race right now in the state of Michigan, we have 6, 7, 8 candidates, and it's just ripping up the field, and we won't even get into that. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
But you were at that position where you're like, hey, let's save the money, let's do everything else. But now we just have somebody else who just announced this past week, which makes entirely no sense whatsoever, is Bernadette Smith, the former co-chair of the Michigan Republican Party. Why is she running?
I you know, on the one hand, in America, you have the right to run.
Sure.
And I suspect, out of respect to Bernadette or any other competitor, Mike, that you will sit there like a gentleman with a smile on your face and not comment. But what I want to talk about is the potential impact.
Yes.
And I'm going to go back to the Slotkin race, because we had Republicans that put Alyssa Slotkin into the Senate seat. and they were over fly, shit, and pepper type issues that people wanted to attack you on. And I'm sorry for that. The consequences of elections, and that's what's important here. And for Republicans that watch this show that maybe we're saying, well, we're a little fringy, we like Bernadette. Here's the fact of the matter. She can't win.
She will not win.
She will distract. She will maybe take a few votes from you. She's not going to take any votes from the Democrats whatsoever. She can't win. And in Michigan, I think that is non-productive for Republicans, for conservatives, for people who recognize that we should have better in Michigan. And it doesn't mean they don't have a right to run. But at some point, you got to look in the mirror. And at this stage of the race, people, Bernadette, you're wasting your time. I don't understand it. I don't like it. Her announcing hurt the Republican Party. Her announcing caused me to lose respect for her, Garrett. I don't know.
Oh, I'm just, it's like a definition of insanity all over again. These people that cut their nose off to spite their face.
Yeah.
When they're like, well, we need to take a stand because we don't agree with 10 to 15% of what Mike has done in the past or what he plans to do in the future. I'm like, but we're going to get stuck with a far leftist slacking, and look where we're at. Now we got her trying to create a coup within our military, which endangers our military, which endangers our citizens.
This is what our country.
It endangers our country. And that's the frustrating part. And then we have Bernadette. Like, if she was a valid contender, yeah, I agree with you. You have every right to run. If you want to run, you want to put your hat in the arena, that's fine. But play the long game. Look at the country. So my question is why? Can you raise money? Okay, even if she can raise a few $1 million, she still doesn't have a chance.
Where's it going to come from? Because
don't know.
The people that follow Bernadette traditionally aren't giving to the Republican Party.
No.
In the state of Michigan.
These are the loud people who will never donate anything.
Or the fact that they donate is great, but make your dollar count. People on the Republican side always you hear somebody of them say, my vote doesn't count. Well, if you're voting for somebody who doesn't have a chance to win in a primary, guess what? Your vote doesn't count.
Or if she runs as an independent, then she will take votes from the Republican base.
Yeah. It just jerks me in the wrong way. It's why I didn't want to run again for governor. And my plan was, Mike, when you and I were going around the state, and how many events did we do together? I mean,
a bunch.
Was to run for governor.
Yeah.
And I started seeing people that were running, and they have a right to run. I get it. But they can't win, and they can prevent the best candidate from being put forward, because here's what I'm going to say. Unless something that I know nothing about happens to you, you are the best candidate for Michigan and for our country. And your record has proven it. When I was talking about slacking in Republicans, in what percentage I agreed with you with earlier, here's another way of phrasing it. I agree with Alyssa Slotkin less than 50% of the time. I agree, and I said that I agree with you over 92% of the time. Garrett, you just made a point. People that didn't vote for Mike the last time around, 10 or 15% of the basis of your life, of your work, that they take exception to, well, then they should get new wives or new husbands because they don't agree with their wife or their husband, as much as they might agree with your policies. And as Republicans in Michigan, we've got to stop looking for fly, shit, and pepper to scratch out a candidate. Let's pivot really quick. What are the four most important issues for Michigan that Mike Rogers is going to bring to the table?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that, but let me back up real quick. Let me tell you what we've been doing. So there's a lot of talk, as you mentioned, about her getting in the race. This train has left the station. we're over 200 co-chairs around the state. We didn't have this last time. So one of the reasons we got in early is we realized, hey, we got in too late last time. The primary hurt everybody that was running, by the way, because you can't finish till August. So we needed to clean that up. We've done that, actually. So if you look around the state, there were folks that weren't happy that I was in the race because they didn't know who I was and candidly had no idea what I stood for. Mm-hmm. We spent a lot of time in the last few months talking to those people, getting around the state. And if you look at our lists of endorsements and people who are our co-chairs, some of these folks were actively working against us even after August. And so we have turned all of that around. And remember, the internet is maybe the greatest invention of all time. It may be the greatest evil of all time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, the old saying of Winston Churchill: a lie goes around the world twice before you can get your boots on in the morning. And so think about it now with the internet. And so what we've done is spend a lot of time talking about who we are and looking at our record. We had a very conservative record. I'm going to get that 92 is a lot higher than that if you actually look at where I was. I was one of the most conservative guys of our delegation for a very long time. But people didn't hear that. They heard something different. And what we're finding is they heard things that just weren't true. So we're out there working it, and we have put together coalitions. We have a great faith coalition. We have a law enforcement coalition, things that we didn't have fully in place because we had to wait to get through the primary last year. That's all in place now. We're not looking back. Anybody can say they're going to get in. Getting on the ballot is a whole nother story. We will be on. We'll have all 30,000 signatures by next week. Good luck trying to catch that train. And so we have built this team. And here's the other part. The President of the United States and I have a relationship. The President of the United States has now twice said, Mike, I need you to come to the United States Senate and help me legislate these executive orders so that we can take care of the future of America as well as we are just this 4 years. I don't understand if people understand how important that is. If we don't get the right people there working hard to get those things done, we're in trouble. So when people I think that pool that you're all talking about is so much smaller now than it was. We're not looking back. We're building our team. We have metrics every single week on new endorsements, new coalition members, and we have not underachieved our own goals each week. And we go through all of them. We report to ourselves. And by the way, we're not, this is to ourselves, so we don't have to puff it up. We're pretty fired up about where we are, and people are now excited about the opportunity for the first time in 32 years to win a United States Senate seat because we just haven't had it. And they've walked past working families with their finger up in the air for 30 years. And we're going to change that. And we're going to change it this coming year. And that's why the president's fired up. He's going to come back in. He told me that. And that's why I think we're getting this new excitement from even people who had doubts. The more you get to know Mike Rogers, the more they have liked Mike Rogers. So I'm pretty fired up about that.
Well, as a business guy, the structure of your business is the best I have ever seen for a political candidate. And I give you kudos. The team you have built around you is exceptional. I like the fact that we have a Republican candidate who actually has a positive voting record on conservative issues, Mike Rogers, versus a 58% voting with consent, John James. I like the fact that Mike Rogers has a real relationship with the president versus an implied relationship with the president. And I quote, John, I don't know about that. Michigan needs to have people that are as committed as you. And I do want to go back to...
Yeah, I want to go back to the issues.
Can I say something real quick?
I just think it's important to know, like this train is moving. People are getting on board. By the way, when that announcement came out, our numbers went up.
Yeah. As they should.
And this, I think, feel why. Like, number one, your ground game before was impressive.
Yep.
Your ground game this time around is
really good.
So, I mean, kudos to you and your entire team. I mean, you put together...
And that's how you win in a state like Michigan. This is really, really important. Yes, you have to have TV. And one of the things that hurt us last time is we didn't have enough money because 70% of our money came in after the primary, which is August. Remember, in Michigan, voters started voting mid-September.
Right.
Too late, way too late. That's why all of this gets moved to the left here to get started, right? You have to get started so much earlier. And the one thing that we started early, because this is how we're going to win this time, because we need 85% of people who voted for Mike Rogers to show up again, and we win. And the way we do that is ground game. Yep. So we will have the mother of all ground games. We are building it out. That's why those over 200 co-chairs become really important. We have people who are already volunteering to help with the folks that are coming in to help us do the ground game. That's why we are now the number one pickup opportunity in the country.
Yep.
And it's because of the team that we built that are solid, number one, and well respected, not just here in Michigan, but around the country. And if that's helping attract more interest, that's how we're going to win. And we just haven't had that in a very long time in this race.
And you made a point with this, the social media noise is not as loud as it was the last election cycle. And I think, and I believe, and we all can agree, the reason being is because of what Alyssa Slotkin has done. She's doubled down and she's went even more left. And people are like, I don't want this. Yeah. So the majority of the people who have common sense and what's called logic, they're starting to say, you know what? Mike's our guy. And that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And see.
And we're seeing that in real time. So this is not just us talking about it. It's real time. These are important metrics for us if we're going to win. And we hope, but this is why it's so important, we hope to help the governor's race. Imagine a Republican governor being able to pick up the phone and talk to a Republican senator who can walk in the last 2 years of a Republican president, Donald Trump, and say, this is what we need for Michigan. Think of the power of that. And why is that important? We lost the defense industrial base here because we had two senators who didn't give a damn. Right. Guess what? I give a damn. We used to build ships. We don't build ships over in Bay City area. We used to build submarine components on the west side of the state. That's gone. We used to have an air base in the UP. That's gone. We used to have a sub-tracking station in the UP. That's gone. Well, guess what? What sent me into orbit is when they announced, the Department of Defense announced the 5 states that are going to build this next big defense industrial base project, the Golden Dome. Michigan was not on the list. Yeah. I'll guarantee you, if I'm in the Senate, we will get on the list. We're going to build again the defense industrial base to protect America, and that is also going to spill over into all the other great manufacturing jobs. That is how we protect the middle class. That's how we stop the bleeding in this state, and that's how we get kids walking into their parents' living room and say, I'm staying. I'm not leaving the state of Michigan because I have good opportunity.
I'm fired up. You sure you don't want to run?
Come
on, man. He said, Governor, let's go.
I'm going to go on record right now. I'm not sure that you got a gubernatorial candidate that can keep pace with you. And I'm not going to ask you who you would prefer because that would be a whole different story. This is about you and getting you elected. And everything that you said is so true. We have more technical engineers in the state of Michigan than any other state in America. And you know what? Most of them are underemployed or unemployed. We have the opportunity for all of the infrastructure issues that you just discussed. Throw in Line 5, throw in Palisades with the new approval for the 2 small nuclear reactors.
That came out of a Republican administration,
Absolutely. And would lower the cost. For all you people out there talking about pricing.
Energy is huge right now.
Would lower the cost up to 40% of the energy that the people of Michigan get. And I loved it because yesterday I put out a graph about how expensive it is in Michigan for energy. And the feedback, well, those are going to go for AI, processing centers and what. No, folks, they aren't. We can get those small nuclear reactors in, and you will receive the benefit of reduced pricing. And
for the next 70, 80 years.
It's actually much longer.
By that, it's huge.
Much longer.
Yeah. And it's, by the way, for the environmentalists, it has 0 emissions.
Yeah.
Safer,
steam
cleaner
is the byproduct,
exactly.
which you probably
safer
recycle.
and cleaner, and less expensive than anything we currently have.
And you can recycle the radioactive
Can I
waste.
just say one thing on the energy piece? So I was up with a guy up in the Thumb, does bespoke manufacturing. So he doesn't do big line 1,000 pieces a day. He might do 1,500 pieces, but that's it for the whole year, right? Very bespoke pieces. One of the things he talked about was these brownouts he's experiencing because they can't get the energy because we're so reliant on wind and solar. And guess what? That doesn't blow all the time and it's not sunny all the time. And he said that's one of his hindrances in expanding his business. He needs power all day long to do it. That's why this changing the way we get electricity to our manufacturers, those two nuclear units,
Small nuclear reactors.
Nuclear reactors. And I was with a group, by the way, trying to push this 10 years ago when it wasn't nearly as popular. But had we done it then, think of what our energy prices would be. And we're paying for those prices at our home too. So people who are struggling every day, good news on the horizon here. I do think we can get after energy prices, get them down so you're not paying so much to heat your home. Oh, by the way, your gas prices are already coming down. So we're going to chip away at your cost for sitting down at your table and feeding your family. Our goal here is you got to just keep nipping away at this thing so that we have a cost structure that the working family wins.
What the people of Michigan need to understand is we have an antiquated grid.
Yes.
Now, alternative sources of power, wind and solar, there's only 72 days a year of sunshine in the state of Michigan. Solar isn't going to be a big deal. Wind is not going to be a big deal. Nuclear energy allows us to create a source of power that is cost-effective, clean, safe, efficient, that will have an immediate impact as we transition to a newer form of electric grid that will make it safer, more consistent, and efficient. The first thing we got to do, though, and the first step that was taken through a Republican group, was getting these nuclear reactors.
Huge.
And the Tennessee Valley Water Authority was the other, interestingly enough, a competitor of the state of Michigan's to get the 2 nuclear reactors approved. 4 small nuclear reactors that were approved for the first time in how many years, Mike?
Well, here's the thing. It's been so long, we don't even have the capability to build it yet. We'll get there. But we can't build them ourselves. We're going to have to import some of the boilers.
From Europe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so because we haven't done it in so long.
Right.
But here's the good news, and people about safety. They have been on our naval operations, our submarines and our ships for 70 some years. And if they would have had a safety problem, you'd have known about it. Matter of fact, I love it when you talk to an admiral who's a carrier captain, he'll talk about how he gets 50 years a gallon on nuclear power.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's a powerful thing. And now we're taking that naval technology that has been absolutely tested, retested, and tested again, and we're going to apply that to these new small modular reactors. So you're right, safer, cheaper, and what we're going to have to do is get people that can build it. One of the things I want to do is bring shop back in every high school in Michigan. My dad was a shop teacher. And by the way, don't call it industrial arts. That'll get you the back of his hand on the back of your head. It was shop. It was metal, mechanics, woodworking.
Absolutely.
And by the way, think of our kids finally putting their phones down for an hour a day or an hour a week or whatever it is, so that they can understand that math has a consequence in woodworking and metalworking and mechanics. I think this is great, and it'll get people interested in this. There are Navy welders right now making over $100,000 a year to start.
Yes, absolutely.
To start. Why? We should be so fired up about this. This is going to be the next generation wealth in Michigan and America. And at one time, Michigan used to produce more millionaires than any other state. And
the third wealthiest state in America was Michigan.
Yeah.
We had more millionaires at one time than New York City.
Yeah. And it was all based on production and manufacturing.
Yep.
My plumber makes $100,000 a year.
Well, interestingly, because you start at 100 for these welders, and they can go up to $250,000, $300,000 a year
Without the debt.
Absolutely great work.
Yep.
And the type of work we need in Michigan.
Yeah,
Line 5.
Yeah, well, before that guy in the thumb I was telling you had those brownouts.
Yep.
He has a guy working the line, does not have a college degree. He's trained on a machine, a CDC machine. Last year he made $250,000.
God bless him.
And this guy says, I'll hire anybody that walks in the door today that wants to work and wants to learn. I'll start them out at $75,000. You can't get that coming out of college.
Nope,
No.
you can't. And we're gonna go back to education in a minute because a report just came out. And again, I try and stay in front of these things. I want to talk about line 5.
Yes, line 5
and
is important.
the type of jobs. It's over 100,000 jobs that we would create in Michigan. And the average income would be roughly $100,000 a year.
In an area that needs it.
In an area that needs it.
Huge.
To put in line 5. Now, I propose expanding line 5 to be able to take heavy trucks underneath the straits.
So build a whole tunnel underneath that.
Build a whole tunnel because the Mackinac Bridge is failing because of the weight of the vehicles that they're putting over the Mackinac Bridge.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge expense for the state of Michigan and for the federal government to replace that because the Mackinac Bridge is failing. And line 5 is appropriate. We would have federal funding with it. It would be a national security enhancement. It would be an environmental enhancement.
Safer on the environment. Easier on the
Absolutely.
environment.
For all the greenies that say we don't want,
Laying
the
on the
tunnel.
bottom of the lake.
You know what? The alternative is you're waiting for an oil disaster. We're going to have oil. We're going to have gas. Get over it. Let's do it safely. Going back to education, Mike.
Yeah.
Michigan is failing miserably. A report came out federally yesterday. 33% of the people in the United States now think that higher education provides value. 66% of the people in the United States don't think that higher education is worth it. What do you think the causes are for that?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a new batch of new graduates that have been told their whole life, you get your college degree, you're set. They're unemployed.
Yeah.
They're having a hard time getting into the workforce. That, I think, is part of it. So that generation's now talking to their parents' generation saying, hey, this thing, I have all this debt and I have no career prospects here. That's a big part of it
But
as
if
well.
Democrats are in control, they're gonna wipe away the debt.
Yeah.
You got your college degree, even though you can't get a job, but you had a babysitter for 4 years, for Christ's sakes. Isn't that great?
Their solution is to throw more money at it.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, there's two areas where the federal government just washed these things with cash. One was in the healthcare side in hospitals. In the last 10 years, 250% increase in pricing to the customer.
Right.
Right. Think of that.
250%.
250%. Same with education. All that money rolled in. It far outpaced inflation because the government had an endless amount of money pouring into these universities, and there's no accountability. My argument is, listen, if you want to go get a gender studies degree, it's America, God bless you, go do it. Don't make the taxpayer pay for it. I think the taxpayer will be willing to pay for engineering, science, technology, things that we know we need, medical doctors. Matter of fact, I have a plan to get more medical doctors, cover their expenses, and get better treatment in poor areas of our state and around the country.
What about chiropractors? You said
I hear that those chiropractors are pretty good.
You
guys.
mean those witch doctors? Just kidding.
Yeah. You notice I didn't say a word. I was so
right.
good
You
about
just jumped
this.
on board.
Oh, I love it. I was a doubter of chiropractors until I met Garrett.
Yeah.
And I had a back issue.
Yeah.
And he sent me to one of his buddies because I said I had a back issue. He wanted to break my neck. And his buddy was willing to deal with the back issue. I swear to God, the best money I have ever spent.
I can say my brother-in-law went through the same experience. He thought, I can't do it. I'm not going to go. Everybody told him not to do it. He went. He said, I've never felt better.
I have
There
never
you go.
felt
I got
better.
my endorsement for chiropractors. I'm out.
There you go.
Have a good interview.
Going back to education.
Yeah. By the way, this is one of the things I will focus on when I get back there.
And I know you will, because you and I have spent so much time talking about it. You know, I'm vicariously living through you right now because I'm not running, but I believe so much in your issues.
Yeah.
And education in Michigan. Remember, people, we are one of the fastest falling states. Remember, people, that over 50% of the kids that graduate in Michigan can't read at grade level. Remember, people, that this DEI and woke ideology and the thought that the left has pushed that everybody needs to go to college to be equal and to be respected is a false narrative.
It's nonsense.
And, you know, your point when you start talking about what should taxpayers pay for, I happen to believe that scholarships should be restricted to things that add value. And gender studies to me doesn't add value. I realize that that may be objective or subjective in many instances, but we need engineers. We need mathematicians. We need scientists. We have a shortage of doctors that are American born. In our great state of Michigan, we have two of our primary universities that in their medical schools, over 50% of their students are foreign.
Yeah.
And they do it for the money.
Absolutely.
At the expense of America. At the expense of America. So I love to hear what you're saying about
I'll make a quick story
education.
for you. I talk to a lot of these small tool and die shops. So they're small fabrication shops that do work, tend to be automotive related, but not always. And we have a burgeoning aerospace industry in Michigan that we need to
Macomb County
help.
in particular.
Yeah, exactly. They took off the question on these are three different small shops. They took the question out of the interview about reading a tape measure. And I said, why would you do that? And he said, because we couldn't find a high school student who could come in and pass the question. And it wasn't hard. 1 1/4 plus 1 3/4, find it on the tape measure.
Right.
Because they couldn't do fractions.
Right.
This is all self-inflicted. We can change this. The fact that 60% of Michigan's fourth graders cannot read at the fourth grade level means we're sentencing those kids to either welfare or in prison. 70%
They're wards
chance.
of the state.
Unbelievable. And we're doing this to ourselves. So the good news is there's a lot of great ways we can turn this around. I'm excited about the prospects of turning education around in the state of Michigan. You know, when I was going to school here back in the day, as they might say, we were in the top 10 in the country.
Yeah.
We're 44th. And the Democrats keep telling you, no, we're the party of education. No, they are not. They're the party of the union that is ruining education.
Yeah. My high school, when I graduated in 1979, was the #1 high school in America. Today it's 187th. That's the fall in Michigan education.
Just since
From
you
number
left.
one.
So the IQ dropped when you left.
Well, it had nothing to do with me. I was the reason that, you know, it wasn't above #1. I think they have a
You're
zero.
the handicap.
I was the handicapper. Yeah, for sure.
But here's the thing. We can change this.
Yes, we can.
And there's some things we can do at the federal level that I look forward to working with a Republican governor to fix, and we can turn it around pretty quickly. And think of the upskills you can get by just being able to read at grade level when you graduate.
Yeah.
It opens up a whole new world. Matter of fact, Forbes did a study and said if we could get kids reading at grade level by the senior year, adds $1.7 trillion to the economy.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking to employers when kids come in and find out they have to have a reading or math portion of the test, they cancel. I just was talking to somebody the other day. They said, we can't get them to show up once they understand they have to take this test because they're so terrified that they're going to get in there and be embarrassed by these tests. And they're not complicated tests. These are just kind of over the hump kind of things. So again, this is maybe the civil rights issue of our lifetime, candidly.
It is.
Because they're pumping kids out of these schools that can't read and can't do math. And then you wonder why there's disaffection, poverty, people are heading to prison like crazy. This is why.
It's a level of control.
You know, it's a social issue that doesn't have to do with race, doesn't have to do with religion.
Nope.
It has to do with people. And the left can't see it. They literally like creating wards of the state, and it's awful. And I'm glad you recognize it. It's the complexity for those in poverty to get out. There's also, the federal government likes to say, the state likes to say, we have all these programs, all these grants, all these things. All you have to do is apply for them. The sad fact of the matter is that people can't read the application to fill it out. That's why they go unused. And we keep parking money in all of these programs that just sit there at the taxpayer's expense, that create bureaucracy versus solving solutions. And Mike, you're spot on. We have a program in Michigan that when I wanted to be governor, I wanted to apply, called Beyond Basics. Yeah. I know you've heard about Pam Good and Beyond Basics.
We're big supporters, my wife and I, of that organization.
In 10 weeks.
Oh, I'm going to give you a story.
Let me finish this. In 10 weeks, you can take a senior that graduated in Michigan this last year before they go to college, and you can improve their grade reading level by up to 3.5 years if they have access to the program. And here's a shot at Lansing. They just stopped funding the damn thing in this new budget.
Well, I'm living it right now with my own son. He's in Beyond Basics. And the results that we're getting already with him being in the program just several weeks is astounding.
Yeah, it gives him his life back too, and his confidence. Think of his confidence.
100%.
It is a solution. It is cost neutral, and it works. 92%. It's irrefutable. If the kid is exposed to this program, 92% of those children will read at grade level.
Here's my problem with that. I mean, I'm so with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm in violent agreement with you. Why wait till they're graduating from high school? We
got to implement it at both ends.
Oh my gosh, we got to get them early. Yeah,
but I'm trying to be nice to the Department of Education. I'm trying to be nice to the teachers union, because you can't have teachers teach the phonics program. There's a certification process. There's an accountability process that the union pushes back against, Mike. So my solution was,
wait till they're, I got it.
Look, we need to start teaching it in third grade, but we need to have a third party teach it. And then we need to provide it for our seniors. And then we're working from both ends into the middle. Yeah. We don't let a senior fail, because if you can't read and you go to college and you're accepted, by the way, simply because you applied to college, not because you're qualified to be there, and then you fail, that's no good for us. So we're dealing with the seniors and we're dealing with the third graders and working into the middle. That was my approach to it.
And by the way, it's not money. And
it's
candidly, it's not the teachers either. My cousin is a special ed teacher. My niece is a teacher. My mother-in-law is a retired teacher. My father was a teacher. If you're teaching sixth grade material and you get a kid that shows up that can't read at the fourth grade level,
right?
How do you teach sixth grade material? Matter of fact, my niece, if she hangs in there, and this is the kind of teacher you want your kids to have. I mean, she is phenomenal, but she's at wit's end because she can't help the kids who aren't prepared and teach the kids who are prepared, and the number is getting more inverted.
Right.
And she
I
says,
think teachers are great.
Yeah,
when I say teachers,
but I just didn't want people. I don't want the listeners to say, "Oh my, it's the teachers. They're not doing."
No, it's the administration, the union, and the leadership,
and the administration is a huge problem.
100%. I actually believe in our teachers, and they want to be successful too.
Yes, they're there because they believe. Yeah.
How about having a classroom full of kids that when you provide a lesson that they can grasp it, and instead of acting out because they're unable to learn, that they're engaged. Makes their life a whole lot easier.
It's not money. They call it the Mississippi Miracle.
Yeah.
They went through and really focused on this, and they reintroduced phonics, by the way, in the third grade. They are now well ahead of Michigan. Mississippi ahead of Michigan. And by
West
the way,
Virginia is just implementing
They spend $9,000 a student. We spend about $14,000.
Right.
It's not money.
We're actually up to $22,000 in Michigan per student.
Wow.
The state that really needs to be looked at. Yes, Mississippi is a miracle. West Virginia, God bless Sarah for putting it in West Virginia. But the state that I found was intriguing was Massachusetts, which went from 49th in America to first in America with a phonics-based mandatory program, long before they talked about the Mississippi miracle. Yeah. This stuff works.
Oh, it's very powerful. Yeah. If you go to a Beyond Basics event and you talk to these kids who they have given their lives back, I mean, if there's a dry eye in that house, you're not a human being.
Yep.
These kids got their life and their confidence, and now they're optimistic. They can't wait to get out there.
You live as a father, it's a different ballgame.
I bet.
Oh, yeah. When you're seeing your kid go through it.
Well, I'm sure when he comes home and wants to read with you,
yeah.
Wow, man, that's
I mean, even already his vocabulary, he's using words I never heard him using. I'm just like astounded by it.
I love that.
You've hit on some very hot topic issues, like obviously with education, with energy, with bringing manufacturing and jobs back. Like the biggest thing that I'm hearing on social media, and I'm sure you're hearing on the road, is housing.
Yeah,
how do we deal with that crisis?
I have a plan coming out. You're gonna love it, and more importantly,
you want to share
it? You're going to share it on the show.
Let me share a little bit of it. I'm going to share a little bit of it, just to give you an idea. So when you're a young person, you're out, you're paying rent every month, right? That does not help build your credit score. If you miss a payment in your rent, it hurts your credit score. I'm going to make sure that those payments that you make count towards your credit score, like making a credit card payment every month. What that does is it raises your score when you're going out to get a loan. It lowers your interest rate, and it obviously it has a track record for you to be able to get that loan. That's just one thing. There's a combination of about 3 or 4 things. Some of it's coming. You're going to love it. And we're doing this because the regulatory framework that has been put around a young person trying to buy a house is nonsensical. Out of Lansing, I had a builder tell me the other day, the regulation coming out of Lansing under the Democrat administration has raised the cost over $10,000 per home. Good. I mean, and you wonder why the things are so expensive. And it doesn't have to be. I said, well, is there something that you're going to prevent with that $10,000 worth of regulation? He said, you wouldn't know for love nor money if that regulation went away tomorrow. So we've got to come at this several ways. You've got to give the young folks an opportunity to build their credit score in a meaningful way, so that they get a loan. And by the way, the interest rate's lower. We've got to get after regulation. And then I've got a couple of other things that we're getting ready to announce real soon. That I think people are going to. I am, because I'm excited about it. I can't hardly. You almost got me to talk about it. My press person over here would kill me. She might throw a shoe at me over here.
Well, it's not going to be.
I want to see the shoe come.
It's not going to be because this is not going to be put on social media until probably next week, right, Tony? So you could announce it here.
I got you. I will announce this on it. I will announce this. Our signatures will be done by next week.
That's
30,000 signatures.
You're teasing us with your plan, Mike. Signatures were cool about 20 minutes ago. Now we have a plan for housing.
Yeah, but I'm breaking the story here. It's going to be huge,
man. So, okay, you said that there's a way to get a loan. What about cash? I like to have a down payment.
I have a way too, but I don't know if I want to talk about it. Do I want to talk about it?
What?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it. All right, I'm going to talk. They're all giving me the thumbs up.
Yes.
No. Well, I get one thumbs up, and I get my press person has a frown on her face. Do you see that frown? I'm going to have to deal with that frown for a week. Here's what we're going to do. So when I was a state senator, I created the 529 plan. I don't know if you're familiar with
Absolutely.
This.
So, we do it.
All three of my kids have one.
Yeah.
It was my bill. So I authored that.
Kudos.
Thank you.
I did not know that.
And it's wildly successful, wildly popular. I actually went back to Congress after the state Senate, and I got the federal interest tax free.
I was going to say, was your plan then evolved into the federal plan?
I was there to do that, which was kind of fun, honestly.
Never knew that.
I got to see the whole cycle of that 521 plan. So it's one of my biggest accomplishments, I think, when I was a young legislator, fighting the good fight, and cost an expensive school and finding ways to try to save money for working families was important to me.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I'm excited that people are using it. I'm going to do the same thing for housing. We're going to create a fund. Let me back up. Right now, if you write a check, if you have the capability to say, I'm going to help out my kids with 10 grand to buy a house or whatever that number is, it counts against you. When you go to get a loan as a young person, if you can't come up with that down payment, they knock you down a couple of points,
Right.
because it's not your money. My argument is that's nonsense. As long as you're making enough money to make the payments, who cares where that down payment came from? And so we're going to create a version of 529s that we used, and it's wildly, obviously you all know about it. I mean, I used it for my kids. I know you guys used it for your kids. Everywhere I go and talk about it, people have used it for their kids. We're going to do the same thing for a down payment on housing. And so your grandmother can throw a little money in there over time. You can throw a little money in there for your kids over time. And by the way, when they're ready to have a down payment for a house, it's there. So think about it. We'll get their credit score ready to go. They're going to get better interest. We're going to do this 529 version for housing so that they now have a down payment that they can walk in and plop down. I think this opens up a whole new world for young folks to be able to get in that first house. It's 40 now. I think it's 40 for the first time home buyer.
Yeah.
It went up in the last 10 years. Like used to be 33.
Yep.
That tells you the hurdles that we're throwing at our young folks here that don't need to be there. And I think these are two really creative ways to get at this problem.
So now I'm
Got another one for you.
Yeah, I like it. I'm in.
Let kids get credit when they have a cosigner on an automobile. Because currently, if your parents cosign on a loan, you get 0 credit towards your credit score, even if you make all your payments for your automobile.
Yeah, this is a great idea too.
Which is a good one. And then kudos to President Trump yesterday, because he now signed into effect that the interest on autos is deductible.
Huge.
Now I'm thinking the business aspect. I have a great athlete as a son, and he's going to get a full ride scholarship to play some sport. Is there any way that I could take my current 529 account and then put it into the house payment?
Oh, you know what? That's a great
not
idea.
your education account.
Yeah.
Although you
why
could
not?
do it. You could do it.
You could do it because they're transferable.
Yes.
Interestingly enough,
Sure. Why not?
529s are something that every family, if you put $1 in, there's value, should do it. They are transferable to the next generation. So my oldest daughter, who got her master's degree, still had money left over, and she just had a baby.
She transferred it.
We transferred it. Now that baby's education is paid for, and she's only 3.
I love it.
Mike, the power of being able to take a 529 and convert it without a tax event
Yeah, that's the whole key.
into
No tax event.
a housing program would be incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
this is
solves
the
the
type
problem.
of this is the type of thought that Republicans think about versus the Democrats who are thinking about screwing people and controlling them. Republicans want to cut them loose. And this is the value of a Mike Rogers.
And he's already expressing my excitement that I'm feeling inside. I thought this was going to be just like, oh, your typical interview, but with the vision of what you're bringing to the table and the impact that we're going to have with the education, especially with the 529 with housing, like that's huge. Like to these young people,
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's
brilliant.
And the good news is I have a track record. You
already did it.
I did it once for education. We're going to do it again for housing. I love this idea. I love the transferable piece. We got to add that in there. And I love the credit score for the cars.
Call it the Garrett clause.
Yeah. I love it. Well, here's the good news. So my daughter decided to go back to school. My son went to the Naval Academy. Thankfully, the Navy paid for that portion of that education. So we just took that. We took the 529 and moved it over. So my daughter is now getting a little bit of help on her master's degree.
So your son went to Annapolis.
Yes, sir.
You were in the Army.
Yes.
Army-Navy game.
Oh, it's rough.
Navy's
so
good
here's
this
what I
year.
told them, and I got to we adopted about 12 of these midshipmen. They call them sponsor families. So we had a place where they could crash from the academy and take off their uniforms and all that. And you get to know them. They become part of your family. Yeah. That's why they call them sponsor families. So I gave them this deal. I said, all right, everybody. And they used to tag my house. All these midshipmen would come over and tag our condo with all this Navy stuff. And I said, okay, I'm going to leave it up for your 5-year commitment. and I'll root for Navy for 5-year commitment because I got to know them all. One Marine, there's a Navy SEAL, there's pilots in this whole batch of folks because they're all out in the fleet now. And I said, but at year 5, that thing's coming out, and I'm putting up my Army. I'm putting back my Army. So my son and I go back at it quite frequently.
Which you should.
Exactly.
Did you try and influence him to go to West Point?
You know, he kind of surprised me. I decided not to push on all of that. You know, he's 4th generation. I'm 3rd generation of our family that served in the military, and it was important for us. And I think just talking about it a lot, my father was a tech sergeant in the Air Force during the Korean War. My brother served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I served, and then, you know, he kind of came to his own conclusion. We took him to this is the only push I did. All right, I admit it. I took him to the Central Michigan Navy game at Navy Stadium when he was a sophomore in high school. And his grades were okay at that point, but he wasn't, you know, off the chart kind of guy. So we go, and he sees the formations when you march on. And it is, if you've never have a chance, I highly recommend you go to an academy football game. It is phenomenal. So the pregame is fantastic. The flyovers, the parachutists that come in, it's very patriotic. I mean, the people are fired up. And then the midshipmen march in, and he didn't say a word. He was really quiet, you know. I'm trying to remember if who won that game. We get in the car to drive back, and he says, "Do you think I could go there?" You know, a little tear in the dad's eye there. And I'm like, well, if you work hard enough, but your grades got to come up. That kid, his grades flipped like that. I've never seen anything like it because he knew he wanted to go. And it was funny. At the end of it, he told me he wasn't going to apply to any other school. I said, you can't do that. I said, it's hard to get in. You have no idea if you're going to get in. You got to apply to other schools. I had to force him to apply to other colleges. He said, no, by the time that sophomore football
God bless
game.
him. That's fabulous.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, he ended up getting a 35 on his ACT, which that was his ticket. Yeah, that was his ticket. I said, you know,
I can assure you of one thing.
I was staring up at a 35 in my ACT.
I can assure you of one thing. I did not get a 35.
I did not get a 35.
I can assure you as
I
well.
was in the 30s.
I hope my son
20s
doesn't.
guy.
I hope my son doesn't listen, but I wasn't close to a 35.
Yeah, I'm a 20s guy too. I hate
20s,
to say it.
low 20s.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's how I did it. But I always joke now that I say I don't know how I'm such a failure as a father that I had a son go into the Navy. I don't know how I did that.
Great story.
We have a lot of fun with it.
I
Very
bet. Your 4 top priorities. We know one's education. We know one's manufacturing and job growth in the state of Michigan.
And bringing back a defense industrial base. That is kind of third. And then the other is crime. We haven't really talked about it. Right. And I say crime writ large. We have to keep our border secure. We have to continue to find people who are committing crimes, who are here illegally, and deport them. And we have to work on our cities. We have 4 of the most dangerous cities in America in Michigan.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to talk about that. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. I don't think it should be controversial when the president applies National Guards to the cities. The results speak for themselves. Yes, there was a tragedy recently in D.C., there's tragedies every day with police officers being shot, but you cannot argue the fact that the laws are being enforced and that our police departments are overwhelmed. And then you take liberal leadership on top of it, and that creates that cesspool in the cities. You okay with National Guards?
If they want to be there, I say yes.
If a city wants them there.
My argument is I wouldn't force it on the city. So New Orleans, not forced. Governor wants it. Memphis, which, by the way, is the #1 most dangerous city in America.
Yes.
The governor wants it. I have called for Detroit to ask for National Guard. And here's what people don't understand. The National Guard is not kicking in doors, arresting people, and throwing them on the street. They offer the presence of deterrence. That's what they are. The arrests are happening by the push of FBI, DEA, marshals, ATF,
And local police.
Their
So
neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
so what they're doing is just they're patrolling that street. Do you really want to commit a crime in front of a guy that's, is ready to go and knows how to deal with it? No, you don't. That's why crime has gone down. And the arrests are made by trained federal law enforcement officers
Absolutely.
in conjunction with local police.
You said there's 4 of the cities. Detroit is the 6th highest murder rate in America currently.
But not murder. It's not just murder rate. But they argue the most dangerous is robberies, assaults, rapes, murders.
So you've got Detroit, you've got Flint.
You got Detroit, Flint, it's Jackson, and the last one is Saginaw.
Jackson, I didn't know.
I didn't know Jackson either.
no,
People.
In
The
Saginaw,
reason you don't know is because it's always about murder. In the TV, it's murders.
Right.
So they track murder rates where those that could be less. But reach that dangerous city, it's robberies, it's aggravated assault, it's rapes. We're something like 400% higher than the national average in Detroit on aggravated assaults, 200% on rapes, higher than the national average. And so my argument was, Mr. Mayor, call in the National Guard. And by the way, if you don't like that, how about that surge of these federal task forces, by the way, which I was calling for last year. I didn't have the National Guard as a piece of that. I was calling for these surges to go into high crime, most dangerous cities and get after the bad guys, because what they're finding and why crime rates are coming down is when you actually go arrest and actually put in jail. So the reason they're coming off the street and not getting turned around and come back in these liberal cities is because they're going to federal jail. So you're taking them out of the neighborhood, and they're finding that a small group subset is committing most of the crime.
That's usually the case.
Yeah, and
a group of bullies.
You take them away, and guess what happens? You get your neighborhood back. Yeah. And my argument, this is where I think Democrats, it's such a sham. They walk past these neighborhoods, they roll up their windows and lock the door, and they keep driving, and then they come out and condemn Republicans for not caring about cities. Do you care that 200 people are going to die in Detroit next year? I do. They don't have to vote for us. I don't care. But I do care that they should be able to walk to school or walk to church or walk to get groceries and not have fear of being sexually assaulted or an aggravated or a robbery or, God forbid, a murder. And I said this to folks who were pushing back on me. Okay, if we had a plan today, if I came to you with a plan today and we could cut down 100 murders for next year in the city of Detroit, would you take that deal? I would. Well, guess what? That means you have a federal infusion of taking bad guys off the street who are robbing, stealing, cheating, and hurting people.
Yeah.
And give those neighborhoods back. Why wouldn't we do it? We have a president who's willing to do this. Man, I would take advantage of this all day long. And you could do it all the way up to National Guard, too. If for whatever reason they didn't want to do it, I'm okay with the National Guard. But if you said, I can't do it, okay, well how about this federal infusion, these kind of task force that really focus on a city area?
Again, thank you for that clarification, because I don't understand as well as you do, based on your experience with the FBI and the federal forces. But I did understand the National Guard. And to your point, all I care about is that these people are safe.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing worse than being afraid to live where you live.
So can I tell you a quick story? I don't know how much time
Sure.
we have. I was an FBI agent. we were working fugitive cases in Chicago. I was a street agent, by the way. I know there was a lot of misperception about when I got into this race. I was a street agent. I was working violent crime and drug cases and human trafficking cases and fugitive cases. I went to this particular place. We had information that this fugitive who had committed multiple murders was on the lam. Can I say lamb anymore? Is that's outdated? Yeah, he was on the run.
You're risky.
He was on the run. We go to this place, and I'll never forget this. We go in, and these are folks who are obviously struggling economically in the city of Chicago on the south side. And when we go in to interview, and so one group of agents was interviewing the wife, to try to figure out where this guy was. And by the way, he had abandoned her and abandoned the kids and wasn't paying, and all the problems that we know happen. And this poor woman was trying to do the best she could. And so I was talking to the son who was getting his backpack ready to go to school. And she said, the woman stopped for a minute and said, just a minute, I need to talk to my son before he goes. Sure. Comes over, and on the back of a napkin, she draws the route he goes to school. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Doesn't he do this every day? She said, oh, he doesn't take the same route every day.
Right.
And by the way, this included him climbing fences and going through backyards. This particular route she picked for him today. Why? She said, if I don't do this, every gang in this city will grab my kid before he ever gets to school.
Yeah.
You think about that. That's the environment that these liberal cities, because they're so concerned about the criminals and not the victims. I argue this woman is a victim of you abandoning good sense and common sense policing and not letting the gangs terrify you enough that you have to draw a map for your kid to get to school every day. I'll never forget that. And I think we can do something about it, but you got to stop treating these criminals like it's somebody else's fault. You commit a crime, guess what? Your fault. I'm sorry. It's your fault. And we ought to pay a penalty for it.
Are you proud of the direction of the FBI and where it's going?
I think it's getting a lot better. I think it has a lot of work to do. It was amazing to me how far that thing fell.
Yeah.
When I was an agent, if I tell you, hearing any of this stuff would have gotten a guy taken out back and, given a good talking to.
A blanket party.
Oh, my Lord. But now you hear that the culture they created, and I'm sorry, I just think that takes time to get out of it.
Yeah.
I am still not trustful of, I hate to say that, as an agent who was very proud of my credentials. I worked hard to get them. I believed in the work that we were doing. We were actually putting real criminals in jail. What they did to misguide that place, and they created this culture. And now to see all this evidence come out about how they were truly weaponizing the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Director of National Intelligence Office, that to me is as dangerous. And so when I hear these Democrats running around saying it's all about democracy, it's all about democracy. Did you see what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, you don't even have to like Trump or love Trump, whatever. Did you see what your government did to an individual American citizen because they did not like his politics?
Yeah.
They could just as easily do that to you.
Yep.
That's why we shoot to the bone. That's why the
This gets my
Slotkin
blood
and the
pressure.
Kelly.
Oh my gosh, exactly.
In the military, most people don't understand how significant this didn't used to happen. It's not okay.
No, it's not okay.
And if there aren't consequences, America falls. I don't know how far it falls, but America takes a step back. If we have elected officials that tear up our institutions, our legal systems, our accountability systems, it's what made America great.
Huge. And by the way, it's not just they're talking about chaos. They have Democrats openly encouraging activities against law enforcement officers in cities all across America. Now they have elected officials talking about creating chaos inside of the military. This is not your grandmother's Democrat Party anymore. I have never seen anything quite like it. You're ripping apart the very fabric of law and order and rule of law that has separated us from every other nation on the face of the earth, which is why people still willing to risk their lives to get here.
Right.
And you are actively working to make that more difficult. I really don't understand where they're going, but this is why elections matter. You said this earlier, Garrett. This is why elections matter. This one counts as much as the last one. I mean, I can't imagine President Harris at this moment in time with all the things going on in the world and right here at home. But now we've got to double down on making this right for the next generation. That's what this election is. We're getting it fixed now. Now it's about the next generation. This is why people need to get out. You need to vote, get out and organize and vote. And by the way, go to rogersforsenate.com. We would love to have you engaged. Our numbers are growing. Our endorsements are growing. Our co-chairs are growing. We would love for you to be a part of it and make history. Change the U.S. Senate. Put a conservative, common sense, Michigan-valued, Michigan-raised guy in the United States Senate for the first time in 32 years, and we will have done something for the future of this country.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, I don't know. I think that's a great way to end it.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you for coming
Hey,
today.
thanks for, I enjoyed it.
Obviously, a lot of different issues, and you are the right guy for the job in the coming election. It's unfortunate because you were the right guy in the last election, and maybe we'll learn the hard way. But as long as we learn, and that makes you the next senator from the great state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And by the way, if you have somebody out there that's thinking right now, I'm still not sure, call us. There's a number on our website. We'll talk to you. We've talked to every group that has had any concern. There's no group we won't go into. This is too important for the future of the country. We'll have that conversation, and we'd look forward to it.
You have a really good radio voice.
Ah.
It's like you're a natural. Do you have a history of this?
Well, I do. I had the most unique opportunity. So when I left Congress because, by the way, I didn't think you should be in Congress forever. So I left after 14 years because I wanted to get in the private sector. It's somebody else's turn. And I think it changes the way you think. You stay there too long. I had a huge opportunity. Somebody came to me and said, we have these Paul Harvey slots. For those of you who remember Paul Harvey, for those of you who don't, you should look him up. The guy was amazing, and a conservative warrior on the radio before it was cool.
He was really the first Rush Limbaugh.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable. And so just the fact that they even wanted me to fill these segments that were once kind of owned, if you will, by Paul Harvey was amazing. So I did 3 1-minute segments a day. And we were on 256 radio stations, and I got free ability to write them and do them. So I wrote them, participated in them. I had one other guy that was kind of, if you call him a producer, was great. I would send all my material to him, and he'd make me sound better than I was. But it was pretty amazing, and I have to tell you, I loved it. I absolutely loved it because it was current. It was every day. It was drive time morning, noon, and then drive time afternoon.
When I was a kid, I mean, I actually tuned into Paul Harvey and his signature sign-off. Mike, could you give us a Paul Harvey signature sign-off?
Well, I'll tell you, the first part was when he would say, and now the rest of the story.
Right? Yeah. He would end every single show with, good day.
Good day.
His inflection and the topics were just great.
And mine was called Something to Think About with Mike Rogers.
Yeah.
And so
how long did you do that for?
3 years. Yeah, it was great. I'd still be doing it. The radio network went into bankruptcy.
Not because of you.
No, well, I did clip him pretty good. I will tell you. But I don't think it was just me, but I have to tell you, I really enjoyed it because you were part of everybody's life. And the reason I loved radio is because it's like this.
Right.
It feels like you're talking together. It doesn't feel like TV that's talking to you.
Did you ever meet Paul Harvey?
I never did. I would have loved the opportunity.
You know, there's 2 guys that I really wish that I would have met when it comes to informing America. One was Paul Harvey. Literally, that guy, if you go back on YouTube or you look up what his contributions were to America and his wisdom as it applies today, it is so compelling. And the other guy was Rush Limbaugh. None of the people on Fox are anywhere near what Rush Limbaugh. That man was brilliant.
He was brilliant, but he was not only brilliant in his policies, he was a brilliant business guy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh my God, that guy was just off the chart rock star.
Yep.
It was quite amazing. I have to tell you, I had a lot of fun doing it. It was good stuff.
Yeah, we don't get enough of that anymore with the internet and whatnot. It seems like radio shows have been
and I would recommend to your listeners, and I'm gonna forget what he titled it. But if you want to kind of know how long this fight has been going on, I think it was in the 60s. He did a radio piece. So it's probably, back then they had a little longer segment. You know, I think he got 15 minutes a day for a while there before his own show. It talks about how schools and education are going the wrong direction. And have you heard this?
It's unbelievable. Spot on.
It's very powerful. And you hear it and you thought, did they record that last week?
Absolutely.
And it was him on the forefront of all the stuff that
He's seen it.
He saw it coming.
Yep.
That's why that guy was, I think, a genius. And, and he talks about, when they chased God out, they got guns in.
Yep.
And he was so powerful. I won't even do it justice.
He was a visionary.
Yeah, but you should look it up. It was. I don't know how.
If I was the devil, wasn't it?
I think that's it. If
Yeah.
I was the
Yes. If
devil,
I was the
that's
devil.
the one.
Yep. Amazing.
Th-
Yeah.
that
If you haven't
is-
seen it, look it up.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this, it is definitely worth your time to find it. And you'll go, oh my gosh, we are just soldiers in a long trail of this fight to keep America on right track. It's amazing.
For those of you that watch Beyond the Echo and enjoyed or have questions for Mike Rogers based on this interview, Mike, how can they contact you?
Yeah, the best, easiest way to get to all our social media is through our website, which is rogersforsenate.com. And it's ROGERS.com.
Expectation, you'll respond 24 hours?
Which will, if hopefully less. I mean, if it's less than 24 hours, these guys just aren't working hard enough. I'm kidding. They're killing themselves. We'll get at it as soon as humanly possible. When the volume goes up, it takes us a little longer, but we'll get at it. And we'll look forward to those conversations and answering your questions, honestly.
Well, please reach out, guys, if you have questions, because I know that Mike Rogers is the right person for Michigan, and I want you to realize how important your vote is to making that happen for Michigan. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, thank you, everyone, for joining us with Mike Rogers today and Garrett Soldano talking about Michigan and really getting beyond the echo on subjects that are important to us and getting the real message across. Look forward to talking to you in the future. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Echo. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop us a comment and share the podcast with your friends. Stay connected and keep the conversation going by following us on social media. Until next time, keep exploring beyond the echo.